Want help to grow your business? Download Bryn, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit bryn.ai or search the App Store today.
Welcome to Family Business Matters. Today in episode 6 we're going to be talking about estate planning, why it is so critical and why it should be integrated right throughout the family business. Today with me I have Ms. Kylie Wilson, Director and Lawyer from Holding Redlich. And so welcome Kylie, and this with baby boomers coming on and that sort of stuff, this is a significant area that we need to cover. And so why do you consider it to be such an important and essential component of family business?
There's a few reasons for that. It's a massive issue, and it's a massive area of potential dispute in particular. And I think one of the reasons that it is such a target area from a dispute perspective is the reluctance to talk about it. So no one likes to talk about death. Happens to all of us,
yes.
And none of us like the thought of it. But when you're talking about it in the context of a family business, it is actually about long-term financial planning. So you have estate planning, which is separate to succession planning.
Yes.
So succession planning for a business revolves around the entire business and succession. Estate planning revolves around the individuals who are part of that business and their estate planning. Problem is, from a family business perspective, the estate planning of any individual who's a stakeholder in that business is likely to have an impact on the business's succession planning, and it's likely to have a potential impact on the business. So without knowing what all stakeholders are doing in their wills, it becomes very difficult to know who you might end up in business with.
Yes.
But also without those individuals understanding the business and the business structures, they might miss something in their own estate planning that they needed to cover, and therefore where they might have wanted, let's say, shares in a corporate entity to actually go, they might not end up there. So that crossover between understanding the business and understanding the individual's estate planning is really crucial for the business overall, but also for individuals involved in the business, their own family groups as well. And it's becoming a more and more complicated area as tax laws change, as super laws change, as trust law changes. This has become quite a specialised area, and the intersection of this with business succession and family business in particular is fraught with difficulty.
Really interesting you say there that, and hopefully I capture this correctly, is that the deceased person may have wanted their estate to go to a certain place and had all the right intentions, but in reality, because it wasn't linked and spoken about, that just purely by going into an estate, it heads in a completely different way.
Yeah.
And
I can give you literally a week ago example of that. So we had a family business that was a corporate entity. The shares were held by Dad had passed away some years ago. Majority shares held by Mum, other shares held by 3 siblings. The children's view, they're very, very openly communicating family and very close family, is that if something happened to one of those siblings, they wanted the other 2 siblings to have control and their family to only benefit from a where there's profit perspective. Now the issue with that is that if you have shares, they had no shareholders agreement and no wills. Let me rephrase that. They had wills, but they'd had simple wills done 10 years previously. So what they actually wanted to have happen was the shares to go to their children, but the children to be bound to decisions of the siblings. Their wills left everything to their spouse. They had other assets outside of the business, so the spouse was having all the assets outside of the business. But the existing simple wills had left everything to spouse, which a lot of simple wills
Yes,
do,
yes.
which meant the shares wouldn't be going to children, they'd be going to spouse, and they had no shareholders agreement that would tie spouse into the decisions of the siblings. So that's just a simple example of how not actually analysing your estate planning and your structures and the crossover between both from a business succession perspective can really lead to some unintended consequences.
And I suppose in that particular example as well, if the spouse receiving those shares was unaware that the real want was to go to the siblings, or even if they were aware of that and then they got those shares, there would be significant tax implications and various other implications, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and also more as well the potential for dispute. Where you don't have your documentation in place to have appropriate dispute mechanisms between shareholders, or alternatively have options in place to enable a call for shares if a stakeholder passes away, you're going to end up in a situation where the court's going to have to decide who gets what. You don't want to be there.
No.
You know, as anyone will say, the only people who win out of that scenario are the lawyers. And usually the business doesn't come out particularly viable at the end of the day. So actually talking about this, communicating about this, estate planning properly, estate planning with specialist advisors who know both estate planning and structures and business succession so that it can all tie in together the way it should, is really crucial for the long-term health of the business.
In episode 4, you mentioned that early communication and early involvement. You know, as a strategist in the area, a lot of people ask me, you know, when is it too early to bring people into the family discussion, be it through a next gen or a...
To continue enjoying this presentation, download Brin, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit brin.ai or search the App Store today.